and welcome to Certifiably Jenny. I am of course Jenny and welcome to my sewing room. So this video today is all about sewing, but it is all about how I've completely changed all of my plans. Now, those of you who have been following me for a while, by the way, welcome back. Lovely to have you with me. And of course, a big welcome to all of my new viewers as well. Welcome along on the journey. This is now sort of going to be sewing for change, if you like. Anyway, those of you who have been following me for a while will remember my board. This board sits in my sewing room. Generally has the projects on it that I am planning to do. And quite a number of videos ago now, I committed that I was going to finish every single job on this board, and I was not going to fill in any gaps, because what happens is the board stays and some of these jobs have been on it for a very long time, and then I get a gap and I fill it with a new project, and then I do the new project and not some of the old things on the board. I'm sure you know the problem about this. I'm sure you have similar issues in your sewing rooms. Given our change in circumstances, given what we're now doing, some of these projects don't seem that important anymore. So I've come up with a cunning plan. I've got a new board. Well, to be honest, I had this board somewhere else, and it was sitting there, and I thought I could put the new things on this board, and obviously then I wouldn't be putting them on that board, you see? Yeah, up here for thinking. So some of those things I think are not, well, I know they're not happening until we get to where we are going. And of course, there are some things that I need to make now for where we're going. So I have a whole new set of projects which are now the priority. So what I'm thinking now is that this old board will probably get packed. And these jobs on here will get done at a later date when I unpack the board, if they're still not rubbed off. But if they have rubbed off, I have the videos, so I'll be able to write them back on again. I do still have a commitment to finish these jobs, but it may take a while, and I may be in a completely different country when I do, and a completely different sewing room. So in this video, I thought I would tell you all about the new things that I am doing. Some of them are crazy, some of them are a lot. But hey, and I have no idea how long I am still going to have my sewing room. I don't know how long it's going to take to sell the house. I could have heaps and heaps and heaps of time, or if it happens really quickly, then I could be like, yeah, really under the gun and sort of going for it. So anyway, I thought I'd bring you along and just tell you what I've decided to do. So the two sort of broad areas, if you like, are, one of them is that I sort of need, well, we need to sort of prepare Maggie for my dog, my little dog. If you're new here, that's my little dog. I need to prepare Maggie for the change. Maggie is, she's a creature of habit. She likes things just the way that she likes things, and she doesn't really like change, and so it's going to be a bit of a rude shock to her. So some of the things that we're doing is that I am trying to muzzle train her, because we've got this little muzzle for her on public transport in New Zealand, and also I think in some of the areas we're going to, dogs need to wear a muzzle on public transport. So we're trying to train her to be happy and comfortable with the muzzle. We have got to the point now where we can put it on and off quite happily. We haven't quite got past the bit where she's trying to take it off. But anyway, we're sort of working on it. She has just recently discovered that she can actually walk with the muzzle on, because before now she was just, oh, there's a thing on my face. So she's getting a bit better. So we've got to muzzle train Maggie, we've got to get her going on public transport. I've got to basically train her a little bit more on being in cities and coming along with everything we do, a little bit more training at sort of sitting at cafes, those sorts of things. But one of the issues is that when we go and we're going to be moving around a little bit, going to visit people and stay with people and stay overnight in different places, I wanted to try and create a sort of a bag for her that maybe I could sort of put her in the bag on my shoulder if I was going to get on trains, or if we were going to go into shops or something like that. And I also wanted to make this bag so that I could sort of open it out and it could form a little sort of bed or a sort of a sitting place if we were at cafes. So There will be a separate video all about that project, so I won't go too much into it, just so far as to say that I am actually also designing and making a bag for Maggie. And if it's a success, what I might do is actually share my plans and my pattern and resources and those sorts of things online on the internet. So anyway, keep that in the back of your mind. That is coming. This one is all about my clothes, the clothes that I think I'm going to need, because I looked in my wardrobe and the winter clothes that I have for New Zealand are not winter clothes for cold places. We did actually live in France for 3 years before we moved to New Zealand, so I am aware that it does get a lot colder in Europe. So I wanted some clothes that were actual sort of woolly, warm, those types of things. I went through, I've got a bunch of shirts, I've got a bunch of jumpers, because of course I knit, so I've got quite a few of the cardigans and jumpers and those types of things. What I don't have is warmer bottoms. Obviously I do have those, but they're for a New Zealand winter, so they're denim, cotton, those types of fabrics which aren't very warm, because of course in New Zealand it doesn't get that cold. We don't have a frost in, well, I'm talking of course about Auckland, the top bit. It does get cold in the south, but up in Auckland we don't have frosts. A chilly winter day might drop to about 8 degrees centigrade, so really not that cold. And on a pleasant sunny day it can be 17, 18 degrees in the sun, and it's sort of t-shirt weather. So I need some woolly gear essentially. So I've come up with a load of plans. I have gone through my stash, pulled out a whole bunch of woolly fabrics, come up with an idea of the bits and pieces that I want to make. I need to make them now because of course as soon as the house is sold I won't have my sewing room, and I won't have my sewing machine until I get to the other side and we get our belongings and we find somewhere to live and all the rest of it. So I need to prepare now so that I'm ready to tide myself over, because I'm not going to be able to find anything in the shops. Nothing ever fits me, so I just want to make some stuff quickly. How long I've got, I really don't know, because I don't know how long the house will take to sell. So I'm going to storm on with these things. So let me tell you about my sewing plans. I am making 3 pinafores and 2 skirts. So I think that should be enough. And I'm making them all out of stash, so they're all stash fabrics. The linings, facings, everything I'm going to try and do out of stash. I bought no new fabric for this. So the first project is this. This is some leftover cashmere and wool fabric. It's really lovely. It's got nap on it, so it's all smooth and gorgeous. It's a lovely navy colour. And I don't have very much of it. I just have, this is the width of the fabric, which is, I'll just measure it on my table here. It's just over 1.50 meters wide, and then I only have that much, so it's not a lot, but I'm quite small and I find that I can get quite a lot out of not much fabric, and that is wider than my hips, and luckily the nap is going the right way, so I think I should be able to make a slim skirt. So with that in mind, I have used this pattern. This pattern I have had in my stash for ages, of course originally a charity shop pattern. I think it's from the 1940s, 1950s. It's just a straight skirt, but it has a rather lovely sort of pocket detail, which is a little scallop pocket, and I used that on my maroon skirt that you've seen in a few videos. I'm just going to make that, but make it a straight line, not a scallop this time, but I'm using that sort of detail on the skirt. The skirt, this pattern is a hip 33, so there's no way that was going to fit my hips at all. So I use my block, of course, to make the actual skirt shape, but then I'm just using these pocket details. The other thing I'm taking from it is it has a very efficient way of making a slit in the back. I think perhaps rationing would still be in place when this sort of pattern came out, because it hasn't got that sort of like underlap that you often have in a back slit. It's just done in a very simple way. So I'm going to follow their instructions, because I really don't have enough fabric in that to even get an underlap for a back slip. So back slit, I should say. So this is the pattern I'm going to use, but with my block. I have already drafted it up, so already drafted to my size with the pocket pieces adapted to my skirt block. So that's number one skirt. The second skirt I'm going to make is out of this lovely fabric. Now this you would have seen in a previous video that was my a thrift haul video. Got it from the charity shop, really pleased with it. $6 for a metre, 1.6 metres by 2.6 metres, so a good amount of fabric. And it's a wool, I've done a burn test on it. So really pleased with that. It's a lovely tweed checked fabric, and my husband really likes it as well. He wants a waistcoat out of it, so I've promised to leave enough of this fabric to do a waistcoat, and it will be easy, because what I'm going to do again is a very simple skirt, and I think this one is going to be a shorter skirt. I'm thinking sort of knee length, sort of slim skirt. I think that would be rather nice. I might do a little bit more at the back, I don't know, although it is tartan, sort of, not tartan, but it's a check, so there's a bit of matching to do there, so I probably won't go too off-piste with that. And also with a check, the hemming can be a little interesting because of course the line goes across, so I'm going to make another straight skirt out of that. These two of course will be lined. I have lining in my stash, not always the greatest colour match, but I'm sure I can find enough fabric to do a lining on these two skirts with. Well, actually I want to line all of the projects, so hopefully I have enough lining fabric. But yeah, really nice wool fabric for both of these, so they should be nice cosy skirts. So those two hopefully should be relatively straightforward. Fingers crossed. These things never are they? But the next fabric is challenging in a slightly different way. Again, there's really not much of it, and it has a mark across it. So if you remember quite a number of videos ago, I told you I discovered that the edges of my fabric, because I store them up at the top here in my Calyx unit, and the edges had faded with the light. I forget, in New Zealand the light is so strong that even in the back of a room where it doesn't get direct sunlight, it has faded the edges. So and on quite a number of my fabrics, have this little piece, which was the exposed bit where it was folded on that shelf. So I've got to try and work around that, which will be a challenge. There isn't much of it all together. I mean, probably only just over a metre maybe. I'm going to try my best to get a pinafore out of this. Only knee length probably. A-line maybe if I can. It's a nice sort of wool gabardine. It's sort of like a school uniform fabric, so I really like it because of that. But what I want to make with it is this. This pattern here is the pattern I'd like to use. Now there's a few issues with this. It's a size 16, 18 and 20, which is way too big for me. Looking at the sizing on the back, I'm a size 10 or 12. So I'll need to do some adaptation. The other big issue is when I looked inside the packet, it wasn't all there. That's always an issue with charity shop patterns. You never really know how somebody's cut it, whether they've adapted it, whether they've cut it too small, whether they've lost bits. And this, unfortunately, there are no skirt pieces in here. There's also not the back piece for the bodice, and there isn't the front piece on the plain bodice that I want. All there is in there is a front and back side bodice piece, and then this panelled bodice. So what I have done is I have used the paper pattern for the side bodices, and actually on the pattern, you won't be able to see it, but actually on the pattern I have graded it in with pencil, and I'm actually going to chop it out and do it out of this pattern paper. Now usually I wouldn't, if it's a vintage pattern like this, I mean this is only 80s, but if it was a vintage pattern of any sort, I usually draft a new one. Or if it's already cut, then I will, and it's the right size, I will cut it to the size. But this one, because there's so many bits missing, it's going to be of absolutely no use to anybody else. I thought I might just adjust these pattern pieces. As I say, all I've got is the front and back bodice pieces. The panelled front, which I don't want, I've actually pinned it all closed, and out of that I have drafted the front panel, which I think it's too tall anyway, but it just gives me a bit of an idea. It's a slightly flared sort of rectangle. I'm probably going to use this as a gauge and an estimation for the back pieces. On the pattern instructions, it looks like the back pieces are just simple rectangles, but I'm thinking that it's probably that in half. So I will chop this in half, add some seam allowance and use that as the back piece. That would give me all of the bodice pieces, sort of. And then the skirt is just an A-line skirt. So I'm going to use my A-line block pieces and adapt this and cut it to the princess seam style, which is this pattern. There is a pocket, which again I can make up. So I think I'm going to make up most of this. I will of course do a mock-up out of this because I don't think... oh, that's Maggie just come back from her walk. Excuse me a minute. You go in there, you. Anyway, so I'm going to make a mock-up out of this because obviously the bits that I'm cobbling together are fairly tenuous and they're a little bit... It's a very dodgy project. So I just really like the design of this. This is obviously a dress and I want to make it into a pinafore. Hello Maggie, you come back in again. This is obviously a dress and I'm just gonna put Maggie out. Hang on a minute. Go on, off you go, you. Scoot, 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 scoot. There we go. No more interruption. So I am going to do a mock-up of it. I'm doing it in the grey Gabadine and I want to do it as a pinafore. So this is going to be a little bit more of an experiment, but hopefully it will work out. We will see. So that's that one, which is a bit on the edge, but I did like the pattern. I like the simple square neckline, A-line skirt pockets. I mean, I think it's sort of a little bit school uniform, but not totally school uniform, which I think will go with the fabric. And I think it'll be a very wearable dress if I can get it to work. So I don't know if I've got enough fabric in here. There's not much, so it may end up being more straight skirt rather than A-line. But it has got princess seams, so we will see. Yes, we will see. So that's that project. The next one is really out there. It's getting more and more like nefarious as we go along. So this is the pattern, which is sort of 60s inspired. I really like the button down the side, the way that it's just, it sort of connects and you put it on with these buttons down the side that comes from the strap. I think that looks really nice and I like how sort of simple it is. But I'm only really going to use the top shaping on this pattern because the fabric is some more charity shop fabric. It's beautiful, it's like a blanket, it's lovely, it's like got a nap to it on the front, it's a beautiful tartan. This was actually bought for me from a charity shop by my daughter. It was $12 for this piece, there's several meters of it. It's really gorgeous, I love the colours. And it's really warm and cosy. And it does look like it collects Maggie hairs. So could be a bit of a problem, but it's so gorgeous, I'm going to use it anyway. What I'm thinking with this, originally I was thinking a long skirt. And then I tried to do a skirt and sort of put pleats sort of in the tartan. And I thought that would be really lovely. But it was quite bulky round the waist. And then while I was playing around with it, I just pulled it up here. And I thought, oh, actually, that's rather gorgeous in a sort of a pinafore-y way. So I am going to pleat this fabric and probably sort of stitch it, fairly long stitch length, sort of baste it with stitching to hold the pleats. And then I will probably use this pattern to cut the shaping for the top and then how it goes around the armholes and to the back. And I want to use the design feature of the buttons going down the side. I might use toggles or something. And then there will be much chunkier straps. That's my plan anyway. So it's more of a draping project really. It's more, yes, it's definitely experimentational. I've got a vision in my head and I've also got a bit of a picture, but it's in linen so it's not very useful, but I'll put it up here just so that you can see a vibe of the thing. But I can see this in my head and I think it'll be great. It'll be like wearing a blanket actually, so it should be very warm and cozy and toasty. So that's the plan for that one, which it's a bit out there and we'll have to see how it goes. Hopefully it's not going to be a complete disaster, but Again, $12 charity shop fabrics, so I'm going to give it a go. And the other thing is with all these fabrics, I am going to wash them. I'm going to do a cold hand wash. I don't dry clean any longer. I mean, I used to when I was in an office years ago, but I don't dry clean. I don't like the process with the chemicals anyway, and also if something's not going to hand wash in cold water, it really won't survive in my wardrobe. So I'm going to wash them and hopefully they will survive. I mean, sheep get wet, don't they? I mean, you know. So hopefully it'll survive, all of them. And then if they survive the wash process, they will then hopefully maybe try and become some of these projects. Right, the last one. Oh, and I do have a bit of matching lining, which is rather cool. This is a remnant, $6.60, which is a polyester satin, which my daughter gave it to me. She was clearing out her stash and she had this. There's plenty of it, so that's a perfect match. So that'll be a great lining for this, I think. This project is out of this gorgeous blue raspberry check fabric. I'm obviously having a checked moment, aren't I? Or maybe it's just, I do like checks, and that's really what sort of gravitated into my stash, is a whole bunch of checked fabrics. So this is a rather lovely fabric, and this was bought new years ago, and I've never got around to making anything with it. I've got quite a large amount of it, which is certainly enough for a pinafore, maybe enough for a jacket as well, I don't know, but the jacket certainly won't be part of this make, but I would like to maybe make a jacket, if I have enough, further down the track. What is the pattern? Well, this is the pattern. I have had this pattern in my stash quite a number of years, and I've really always wanted to make it and have never done so. So I'm actually going to make the pattern as it is, although I might add some pockets because it doesn't have any pockets. So I might add pockets, but I'm going to do it as the pattern. Now, the pattern is a 6, 8, 10, so I will have to adapt it, of course. Looking at the sizing, I would be the 12 in this pattern, so it really depends on all the patterns. Sometimes I'm an 8, sometimes I'm a 14. I mean, it really is quite amazing. It depends on the age of the pattern. The older the pattern, the larger size I am. So this looks like a relatively modern pattern, I would say. I don't know what sort of age it would be, but I think maybe less than 20 years old, I would hazard a guess, but I'm not sure. Anyway, I am going to have to size it up a little bit. I've already done the work. I've actually already adapted this pattern. So I just basically take the difference between the 8 and the 10 and add that on again to give me the 12. So the way I do it is I literally go around with a ruler, find the distance, and then plot that out, and I make lots of little plotting marks from the distance between the 8 and the 10, add that for the 12, and then I join all those dots together, forming my new pattern. Because at all points on the pattern, you can see the difference, the interval, if you like, between the sizes. So it's easy to add on. If that makes any sense at all, it may not. So I've already adapted the top. The bottom, of course, there was no way that was ever going to fit me because I have quite a difference between my waist and my hips. So I have used my dress pattern block to actually do this bottom piece to move from my waist to my hips in a way that I know will fit. So I have already drafted the new pattern from this pattern. Now it does say it's supposed to be quite tight fitting at the top. I'm wanting to use it as a pinafore, so I do want a little bit more room in that. But there's a 1.5 cm seam allowance everywhere, so hopefully there'll be enough in there to make those adjustments. So that is the plan for the check, the red and the raspberry and blue check. So quite a lot to make. As you can see, there are all those projects to make, plus I've got my dog bed, which I'm also working on for Maggie. I did buy new fabric for her dog bed because I didn't have anything that was sort of bag appropriate in my stash. And actually it's amazing, now I've taken out all these winter fabrics, it's made a big hole in my stash because winter fabrics take up quite a large amount of room. So, which is all the better for packing if I can make these into clothes that I can wear. If you're not subscribed, do please subscribe if you're interested in bag making for dogs, or if you want to see me make all of these projects, they will of course be coming out in future videos, the different makes of each project, as I usually do. Make the project and do a bit of a reveal. That will all be in upcoming videos, so please do subscribe if you are not subscribed. It does make a big difference to my channel. It does make a big difference to how YouTube promotes me to viewers, which would be so useful if you subscribe and like, comment, all those sorts of things. Please let me know your thoughts, because it's always so useful when you tell me, oh, watch out for this, or think about that, or be sure to do this first before you do that, and all those sorts of things. Very, very useful. So do please leave me a comment. Any of your thoughts as I've been rambling on about all my projects, do let me know. But I do find that this is my sort of happy place. So when I'm getting a bit overwhelmed with all the things that I need to do for the move and selling the house, and all the anxiety wells up, especially I'm trying to get to sleep at night, I can just push it all away and think about my sewing projects, which is so lovely. So that's what I'm doing. I'm sort of using it as a little bit of sort of avoidance, or sort of yes, just a little pace of calm within the chaos which is my life at the moment. So very excited to get on with these projects, and I really want the outcome of what I'm making. I'm really excited about them. So unfortunately the board that I made that I was going to finish, is it just put on hold just a little bit, although as I say, a couple of those things will be making it sort of onto the new board. I would like to fix that hat because it is a favourite hat of mine. The merino leggings definitely need to be made going into the colder climate. The winter pinafore is actually one of these pinafores, so that's coming across as well. Now the coat, which I've started to make, I have actually shelved that project because I've realised that the coat is not going to be warm enough for a winter. So that coat that I was making really is only a spring weight in Europe. I mean, here it would be a winter coat, but not in Europe. So I've shelved it for now, and then I will finish making it later on. Anyway, enough rabbiting. I must get on with these projects. So I will see you next time. Bye.